Today's Cryptic Crossword content is an update. It's been quite a while since I've done an update, but we've just shipped a new feature and I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about kind of what it unlocks for us. It's a simple feature in a way, but I think it unlocks quite a bit. And I think as I explain it, we will also stumble into a conversation about memberships, and I will also flag that this is not the most exciting announcement this week. There's another one coming that I think is much more exciting, but this one's still pretty exciting. Let's talk about the new feature. It's on the screen in front of you. It's subtle, but it's a slight change to the show hint button, which now says show hints. And so we've basically rolled out multi-hints, and I'll show you what that looks like now. I click this button, and instead of seeing the hint, I see an option of hints. I can choose to see a hint about the definition, or about the indicator, or if there are multiple indicators, the indicators, or about the fodder. And actually, these buttons are not static. They can change per clue. So I'll show you one later that actually says hint 1, hint 2, hint 3. So it's really just up to how I want to structure the hints for each clue, because every clue is different. Not every clue has an indicator. A double definition, for example, this structure here would not work for that. But let's say I want to see the indicator for this. So I'll click indicator, and now the indicator is highlighted with the same color as the button, and I am told that this clue's indicator is piercing. Some of our wordplay fodder will pierce other fodder. Cool, and maybe I'm still confused. I can go back to where I was by clicking it again, or I can click fodder. I want to see what the fodder is. And there's quite a lot of fodder in this clue, and by process of elimination, I can work out that the definition is fancy. And so, yeah, that really just gives me the ability to understand a lot more about what's going on without clicking the show letter button. And now you can see there are 2 white circles here because I used 2 hints. But I think what this unlocks for us is the ability to be a bit more hand-holdy during the clue. I think previously we kind of said, here's one hint, tells you what the definition is, good luck, have fun, and also show some letters if you need help. And I think when people didn't understand how the clue was working, what it meant was that you'd just bash the buttons. You'd bash the show letter button to just fill up the grid until you kind of brute forced the answer. It didn't encourage a lot of understanding in that, or a lot of attempting to understand necessarily. And I think possibly quite a few people were punching that button just to get to the video to then understand. And then that wasn't that satisfying. So now, rather than kind of brute forcing the answer, I don't think that's an illegitimate way of doing it, by the way. But if you don't like showing letters, but you would prefer to kind of be guided a little bit as to the tricks for what's going on in a particular clue, you don't have to show as many letters. You can show more hints and kind of maybe you put it down for a bit and let it percolate, and you come back later and your brain's kind of just been working in the background with the hints. So that's what we've been working on. Now, what does it unlock? I think it unlocks harder clues. And I'm very excited about this because Minute Cryptic has always been, or at least the goal of Minute Cryptic has always been, to introduce people to cryptic crossword clues and to help them level up. And I think our clues have very much been primarily located in that introduction phase, which I think is great. But I think whenever we've tried to introduce some slightly harder clues, or some pretty hard clues, we've had a tension there. Do we want this to be introductory, or do we want it to be stretchy? We've kind of had to choose. And now I think with hints, we don't have to choose as much. Those 2 things aren't in opposition as much, because we can do harder clues, but still help people along the way. And I think that's really going to help with our PAR system. At the moment, because all of our clues kind of were pitched about the same, every day the PAR score for a clue was PAR 2 or PAR 3. I think maybe we'll see some harder PARs going on, and like some higher par scores going on. And that will just be a hint to you, hey, this is probably a tricky clue. Maybe you want to get stuck into the hints a little bit earlier in your exploration of this clue. And another thing that aids there is the author of the clue. We now display that on the page. And so I think perhaps what people will do is they'll learn to identify clue writers that maybe are a bit trickier. They'll learn to look more at the par score and see some higher par scores, and that will tip them off to, maybe I want to use more hints on this clue, or maybe I want to use fewer hints on this clue, depending on what your own assessment of the difficulty is based on par score and the author. So that is very exciting. That also, I think, unlocks more clue writers. And I think we've had some great clues from writers other than Liam, and certainly other than me. Liam's still number one. He's never going to not be number one. Liam's still number one. But we've had some great clues from other people, and we want to introduce more. And we'll introduce some harder people, but there's one particular person that is notorious in Australia. And if you're Australian and you know cryptic crossword clues, you probably know this person. You know who I'm talking about before I say his name. And it is David Astle. It's this guy. I'll put a photo of him on the screen. He is the dictionary guy on Australia's version of Countdown. And he is a psychopath in the cryptic crossword clue, like in the best possible way. No offense, David. I mean that with all admiration. And it's just, he's said that we can use some of his clues. We will not use his most devious clues because they are just insane, but we will select clues from him that we think are very satisfying and very interesting and a bit stretchy, and we'll give you good hints with them. But this is the kind of stuff that we can do now that we have multiple hints. So I think that's a good thing. I think we will reserve judgment on it to see kind of the new clues that are coming across our path. But I've got a few where I just think, that's such an amazing clue. I'm so excited by some of the clues that we're going to be able to do that I just have held back for a while because I thought, it's just a bit too tricky when we don't have multi-hints. Anyway, that is multi-hints. I'm super excited about that. I'm going to show you another multi-hint with a slightly different style. And in doing so, I am going to reveal some features from the members section. We invited people to pre-register for memberships to get early access, and a lot of people submitted their emails for that. And then when we were kind of ready with our very first version of memberships, we emailed them out and we had stacks of people sign up, which is super exciting. And also just opens up possibilities for what we can do with Minute Cryptic. For example, I don't know if I've said this, but I'm now full-time on Minute Cryptic. When I started it last year, I was working a full-time job. It was my side hustle. This year, because of memberships, I've been able to just make Minute Cryptic my full-time focus, which is amazing. And I love it. And I think and for example, this multi-hints feature, I wrote the code for this feature because I just have more time to kind of just throw into Minute Cryptic. So that's really exciting. I'm enjoying coding again. Last time I really coded, there were no like AI tools for coding. I'm loving some of the new AI tools for coding. I'm using Claude if anyone's interested. But yes, that's very exciting. Thank you to our members. The members are not just kind of funding the membership section. They're really funding the improvement of all of Minute Cryptic, really. So thank you to our members for that. That's kind of how we have multi-hints now, and we're able to take things to the next level. But I'll show you another clue using our membership section. This is the archives. I've got some completed clues and some fresh clues. And I'm going to go back to February because I know this clue has a different set of multi-hints. So now I'll show hints for this, and you can see this clue is not one where it's helpful to have a definition and fodder and an indicator in the clue. Some of you might remember this clue. you can go back and watch the video. And so here I wanted to give 3 hints because it's kind of a hard clue. And so I just called it hint 1, hint 2, and hint 3. And then I won't spoil it, but that shows some of the variety that we can bring with the multi-hint system. So that is multi-hints and everything that kind of unlocks. I will now show, to give you an idea, I will show you a clue by David Astle, which is, we will never do this clue on the channel. It is too hard, but it gives you an idea of just the kind of stuff that's out there. And this clue is criminal can't poop in all-seeing prison, which is an amazing surface. And the definition is all-seeing prison. And no one knows this word. No one knows the answer to this word. This is why we would never set it. The answer is panopticon, which is a design for a prison. I think it was in the 18th century it was designed, this kind of concept for a prison. And it basically meant that all the cells were visible from a central spot. I believe I've got this right. And so guards could view every prisoner, but no prisoner knew whether they were being watched. And so I think it was designed by a philosopher, go figure. The idea was that the prisoners would self-regulate because they never knew whether they were being watched or not. Kind of incredibly oppressive. But that's a panopticon, and here the definition is all-seeing prison, and it's just an anagram. Criminal here suggests that if you take can't poop in and it's unlawful somehow, it's out of order, unregulated, it's criminal. That's an anagram indicator. And if you rearrange the letters of can't poop in, you get panopticon. But just the surface, this idea of like, yeah, if you were in a panopticon, maybe you would have trouble pooping because of privacy. There you go. Anyway, that is an example of like, that's the kind of David Astle clue that I would share with people, just to be like, this guy's off the chain. We will find some accessible clues of his, but he is, within Australia anyway, he is just kind of fear-inducing in a good way, I would say. So anyway, that's some of the fun that we've got coming up, and there's one in particular that I'm really looking forward to sharing. So that is today's announcement, and like I said before, I think probably not the most exciting announcement this week, or in the next week and a bit. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, thanks to everyone for playing, and thank you especially to our members for just kind of being the team and the community and the engine that really powers Minute Cryptic and its improvements. So thank you.